Right, what's happening, people? Welcome to another video. I'm very lucky today to be joined by Mitch, aka the Chelsea Forum. Mitch, how you doing, mate?
Mate, Joe, I'm good. Thank you very much for having me, mate. This has been a long time in progress.
I want to dive straight in to Chelsea's season so far. I'll take myself back to the start of the season. And I think before a ball was kicked, the expectation I had on this season wasn't to win the Premier League title. I'll be honest, I thought Liverpool would win it. I don't know, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and looking back now, that doesn't seem like the best prediction at all. But I just think how close they ran City last year. I really rate Klopp as one of, if not the best manager in the world. I know people straight away would say Pep, Ancelotti, a few other names you can throw in there, but personally, I'd say Jurgen Klopp, what he's done at Liverpool. Let's not go as far to say a shoestring budget or anything like that, but it's not. He hasn't spent the same amount that other clubs have spent, and he hasn't always been backed in the same way. I thought Liverpool were going to win this Premier League season, but I did think that there was no jeopardy in terms of Chelsea finishing in a top four space. I thought that we would probably finish a very comfortable third, not too close to Man City and Liverpool, but also nowhere near, missing out on the Champions League spots. And I thought we would probably get to another domestic cup final at least and maybe win that. And I expected a decent little run in the Champions League. The way the season's gone has been very different to my expectations going into the season. I didn't foresee a world where Thomas Tuchel wouldn't be the manager. And obviously no one could have prepared themselves for an injury crisis like we've had. I just mentioned Tony Lockwood, who I do videos with as well. He's worked presenting, covering all types of football journalism for 40 years, and he said to me that this is the worst injury crisis he's ever known. What were your expectations at the start of the season for Chelsea this year?
Again, I think they're very similar to yours, to be honest. I didn't think that we would be in a position where we would be now. Like you said, I think we'd be sitting comfortably in top four, third, potentially pushing for second. And I was very excited with the signings that we actually signed over the summer. The likes of Raheem, we got a little bit more experience at the back coming in with Koulibaly. But, it's like you sort of said, the injury crisis that's happened to us has just thrown us off guard completely. And then, as you mentioned, with the sacking of Thomas Tuchel, I mean, it was something that couldn't have, been seen. It was such a drastic decision that had been made pretty quickly before the season had even started, to be honest. So it was just very tough, for obviously Chelsea fans to kind of see that, and then all expectations kind of not went out the window, but there was definitely a bit of a shaking up that had sort of happened there.
So that sacking of Thomas Tuchel came pretty early into the season. We played Everton on the opening day, and we didn't play great, but we got the 3 points there. Then going on to our first home game of the season was the London derby. Big clash between ourselves and Spurs. And it's weird. After that match, I turned around to quite a few of my friends and I said, Chelsea are going to win the title. And it's mad that you can say that after a match that you didn't even pick up maximum points in, technically. But
controversy on that one, isn't there?
Yeah, that day, Koulibaly looked unreal.
Yeah. That
day. I remember not just the fact that he scored a goal or whatever. I just remember watching him in possession, watching him pass out from the back and sometimes pick the more dangerous option when he would take the pass, as in a straight ball through rather than a sideways pass and stuff like that. He looks very comfortable. And I remember thinking at the time, no one's going to be able to live up to that 26 shirt, but this fella might do it no harm, might do a decent job here. I don't want to talk down on Koulibaly, but he hasn't hit the heights of that performance, in my opinion, since then. Still room, still time. The Premier League's a very hard league to adapt to. What were you thinking after that Tottenham game?
Very similar to you. I thought that we were going to potentially run away with it, but I was very excited to see sort of the new signings that we had come to Chelsea as well. Like you just mentioned with Koulibaly, he had an absolute blinder of a first game for us at Stamford Bridge. He scored an absolute screamer, right foot coming in from the corner. Also as well, I was really looking forward to seeing what Cucurella could have brought us into that game. I think personally that was the best game that he played in a Chelsea shirt. In terms of expectations, like you said, they haven't sort of reached those levels. We had a fully fit Chilwell at this point as well. And he wasn't even getting a looking over Cucurella, who's just obviously come in straight away. We hadn't had Potter at this time, so it was very, going at the sort of 5 at the back formation that we had under Tuchel, you can see, what we had done in seasons prior in terms of getting the ball out wide, using our wing backs and actually getting into attacking positions. And I thought it was very good for us going forward. But like you said, it was a bit of a difficult one. I thought that we deserved all 3 points because, let's be honest, the equalising goal from Harry Kane shouldn't have been a goal due to the Cucurella hairpull incident.
The ref had a shocker.
Absolute mare. Absolute shocker. But we're Chelsea, we're used to that.
Yeah.
You know, so there's been many times where we've had decisions not go our way, but it's something that we've had to live with, you know, and we push through. But yeah, it was just a very tough one.
Everything was optimistic after that game. And then maybe not immediately after, but we went on a bit of a tough run of form. Obviously dropping points to the likes of Southampton away. The straw that broke the camel's back was the Dynamo Zagreb game. It was a 1-0 defeat, wasn't it, away?
1-0 defeat away out in Croatia.
Yeah. Now, after that match, I made a video and, you know, you can look back on it. I said after that match, I fear for Tuchel now. I fear for his job. What was stopping me was the fact that we weren't owned by Roman Abramovich anymore. You know, so under Roman Abramovich, I think Tuchel might have gone a little bit earlier. That's not to say that's right. I just know how the regime worked under him.
How the system works, yeah.
Yeah. So I think he could have been gone a little bit earlier under Roman, but obviously I wouldn't necessarily agree that he should have been gone earlier. I just think the way it worked, he could have been gone a little bit earlier under Roman. But I did think that the writing may be on the wall. Tuchel is sacked quite quickly. Graham Potter comes through the door, and we did notice an uplift in form. I think I was at Graham Potter's first 2 matches. I think one of the first matches I was at was 1-1 to Salzburg, I think it was, maybe. Either way, we had quite a good run of form under Potter when he first came in. And then we got into a real sticky patch.
Yeah. You know, we had a good run of form under Potter, and I think it was very... It was so different to obviously being under Tuchel, where you've been playing under this manager who's... You know, if you see any sort of games that he's managed, he's a very passionate manager. He'll let you know if you're doing things wrong. I remember the incident with Hudson-Odoi, I think it was last season, they brought him on as a sub and then took him straight back off if you're not performing to his standard, where I think Potter was a little bit more lenient. He has a game plan and he expects you to see it out. But in regards to the sacking under Tuchel, like you said, a bit harsh. Did it come too early? I'm kind of in the same boat as you. There were things that needed to happen under Tuchel that just weren't happening in terms of clinical goal finishing, which still isn't happening, obviously, at Chelsea. So it's not a managerial issue. I just found it very tough. I think, obviously, it was a bit of a different era. Like you said, we had Abramovich under Tuchel, and then we spent so much money under Todd Bowley, bringing in all these new signings like the likes of Sterling, Koulibaly, Cucurella, and also Raheem. So for me, at first, it initially didn't make sense that he got the sack in as quick as he did, because you thought, you know, what was it, first week of September?
Yeah.
He got sacked. We haven't even I think it was Aubameyang's first game. He played 45 minutes, 50 minutes under Tuchel coming back.
That's the signing. That's what sort of surprised me the most. You listed those players and I thought, you know what? There might be 1 or 2 situations where a manager just isn't feeling someone. But give or take that, every single manager would be happy to work with those players that you just named.
100%.
The one that sticks out for me is Aubameyang. Clearly, track record, not every single manager is happy to work with Aubameyang. It's very hard. You don't know these people on a personal level, and you don't know them, and we sit and cast judgment, and it's easy as, you know, listen, I pay a hefty price for tickets to matches most weeks and stuff, so I feel like I do have the right to as a fan, but it's hard. You don't want to look like you're talking down on people too much, but he's just not a bit of me, Aubameyang. He's just not my cup of tea for a Chelsea player. He's just not the profile for a Chelsea player for me. He doesn't look too interested on the pitch. Yeah. Is he clinical? Yes, I believe he probably is. But I believe we need someone who's maybe a little bit more than just clinical. In fact, I would much rather, providing fitness was there, Amanda Broha in the team than Aubameyang. Who would I hang my hat on more to finish a one-on-one opportunity? I would have to say Aubameyang. You'd have to look at history and back the man who has a higher success rate.
Exactly.
But who do I think does more for the team? Who do I think inspires me a little bit more? Just gives me that feeling of, okay, you're trying, you're putting a shift in today. I thought the Aubameyang one was weird, and I thought that that's one of the things that made us not expect the Tuchel sacking.
Yeah.
But you could look at a lot of the business Chelsea have done and think it's a bit strange. Do we need to keep signing wingers? Okay, well, it will reflect a little bit better if we maybe let the likes of Ziyech or Pulisic go, but at the minute, I don't see the need to be signing this many wingers. I think we've got 8 on record at the club at the minute. Another one that baffles me was the Cucurella signing. I got a bit of stick. I made a video myself and I said that Cucurella is one of the players that I would like Chelsea to get rid of. I haven't seen Cucurella have a good match yet. The best I've seen him play was actually watch him from home at Anfield a week
Liverpool
or a
game
couple
last
of
week,
weeks ago. By the time this goes out, that's the best I've seen him play. And even then, you know, if I was rating him, I'd have given him a 7.5. I haven't seen him play that well. But then we are used to higher standards from the likes of Chilwell and James, who we normally have in those fullback positions. So maybe I'm being a little bit harsh.
I don't think it's too harsh at all. I mean, like you said, it's probably one of the best games that he's played in the Chelsea shirt, and it was at Anfield. But at the end of the day, he's playing against an out-of-form Mo Salah as well. So I think, you know, Mo Salah on his day, we know what he's capable of over the previous seasons. If he was on his day, I don't think it would have been Cucurella's best performance. No. But the fact is that he had somebody like Benoit, you know, a young new centre-back coming in for Chelsea, Benoit Badiashile, comes in, and I just think he made Cucurella's job look so easy for him. You know, you look back at your Cucurella, you think you've got Mo Salah running towards you, and you've got a young Badiashile, and then you've got a highly experienced Thiago Silva backing you. It's got to give you a bit of confidence.
Of course.
It's got to give you a bit of confidence, considering the run of form that we've been in. I think that was our second game in a row, 0-0. We hadn't conceded, so it does give you a little bit of a license to run free a little bit. I know that there was potentially issues with Cucurella having some family issues that come out sort of just before the game at Anfield, why he wasn't previously selected. I haven't read in too much about that, but again, it was just, for me, it was a good performance by him. But again, what would have happened if Liverpool were Liverpool, the Liverpool that you and I, as we just spoke about, expected at the beginning of the season? Could it have been completely different? Who knows? But it would have been a tougher match for him, that's for sure. But I think you were just talking about Broya and Aubameyang.
Yeah,
100% agree with you there. If I had to pick and choose, I think I put a post on my page, I think the other week ago, in terms of who I'd like up top. It's got to be Broya. Broya, man, he just gives it his all every single game. Like you said, when you see sort of Aubameyang play, he looks a little bit disinterested. There's no motivation. There's no get up and go. I mean, the guy's on a huge wage. Well, I think he's on 150 grand. Might not be huge to those boys, but you and I would take that a week. But when it comes down to it, I think you've seen Broya have pretty much a full season at Southampton by his injury. He's come into the Chelsea side. He's got that elite mentality. He already said previously when he signed his contract before going out to Southampton, he wants to be our next Didier Drogba.
Yeah.
So that mentality alone, he's not playing for a wage, he's playing for the badge. No. And that's huge in terms of this Chelsea team. You know, somebody like Reece James, who you can compare him to, who's definitely playing for the badge. Mason Mount, we'll talk a little bit more about him a little bit later on, and he's run a form, but probably our best player over the last 2-3 seasons. So if we have that sort of mentality up top where we've been missing so much over the last few years, I think Broya could potentially be a key to unlocking what we need to achieve.
I think stylistically he fits the physical profile
100%.
of what I believe a Chelsea striker needs to succeed. Chelsea do have a number 9 curse. It is a real thing. It is something that we've had to put up with for many years, but one or two do slip through the net of that curse and end up making a real success. The likes of Didier Drogba, Costa, Hasselbank, they all sort of fit that profile that I'm not comparing Amanda Broya to him, but I would say fits that sort of profile. So that's definitely something to be optimistic about. I think that after that run that Graham Potter went on, we were in a very unique position because, let's be honest, we had played shit for the most part. I didn't think we played very well in a lot of those games. I thought that at times we were unlucky, but you do sort of make your own luck in football. Yeah. However, it was a very unique situation because most teams, when they're in real hard moments like Chelsea are, don't then have the elephant in the room, which is the optimism of all these new signings, and then maybe the hesitancy of thinking, did we need to make all those signings? You know, are we going to live to regret this? I saw a picture, and this is from Arteta's first full season. They had a run of 10 Premier League games in which they won once, they drew twice, and they lost 7 times. Okay, that was in Arteta's first season. I remember multiple times during Arteta's tenure at Arsenal where I've been listening to TalkSport, and whether they're being selective with the callers or what, there is a lot of people screaming for Arteta's head, Arteta out. And I actually saw a clip of Mark Goldbridge the other day. I think it was on Ben Foster's podcast, where he said that he believes that Potter is the next in line when it comes to those sort of managers, Arteta, young managers that are doing well. So it's very hard in that situation because we haven't been playing well. The results haven't been going our way. Even when we've put in improved performances, such as the one against Liverpool, we're not actually coming away with the 3 points. But we have got this optimism. Players coming through the door, João Felix, Mudryk, all these signings, when they come back in, are Chelsea going to really sort of rifle their way up the league? Or do you think this is very much still a transitional season that we shouldn't be expecting too much from?
Yeah, I think it's a transitional season. I think realistically, we're Chelsea Football Club. Anything's possible when it comes to us. I wouldn't put money on us to go and win the Champions League if we finish 10th this season. But I think, sometimes you just got to kind of accept the cards that you're dealt. We've been riddled with injuries. We've had so many things, so many issues going on within the last 12 months. We've had a sanctioning, so new ownership, relationships have been burnt down. There's sort of players that, have proven on the pitch and off the pitch that they necessarily don't want to stay at the club and they want to move elsewhere. So there's all these sort of in-house things that you have to take into consideration when it comes to performing on the day. And like you said, we've got all these new signings now that are coming in and that want to now make a new name for themselves and potentially kick some of these players out of their spots. And rightly so. They're signing huge contracts, 8.5-year contracts, some of them, with the likes of Modric and Madueke. Yeah. So they're coming in now. And I think with this transitional period, I think a lot of Chelsea fans are so used to having sort of quick overnight success where we go, right, Potter's not doing well, get rid of him, bring somebody else in. We can't keep doing that. That was a sort of an era where we were under Abramovich, and obviously with those expectations, it was, that's what we did. That's what we could do financially also. But now I really enjoy Todd Boehly's approach. He's straight up, he's given Graham Potter a 5-year contract. I can't remember the last time we gave a manager a contract over 2 years. Yeah. So it goes to show you the amount of faith.
I can't remember the last time a manager stayed over 2 years.
Well, exactly. So, hopefully Potter's going to be the first in the long run. But like you said, we haven't given manager these big contracts, and Todd Boehly's got a vision, and I think Graham Potter's got a vision. We've seen what Potter can achieve at Brighton. He wasn't particularly great his first season at Brighton too. There's always going to be transitional periods, and I think, like you just said, with sort of Mark Goldbridge coming out and saying that we need to support Potter and back him. Pep came out and said it the other week also. After we played Man United twice in 5 days, twice in 6 days for the Premier League and the FA Cup. If somebody like that, who has obviously, Pep's probably one of the greatest managers in the world, but if he can come out and say, you need to give this guy time, you got to give this guy time. I really like him. I like his style of play. He's got a huge brain on his shoulders. I think he's got one of the rarest PhDs in psychology. So, what he's doing now is he's taking players out to training days, team bonding experiences, getting to know the players, and I think that's just going to be huge in the long run. And like you said, we've been riddled with injuries this season, so not necessarily form can be put down to the manager. It is the players. When we don't have a consistent run of players, we don't know our first team because we haven't had a first team, a starting 11 in a while. In a long run, I could tell you who I'd like to be in the first team, but behind closed doors and what they do in training could be something completely different. So I think we just have to give them time. And realistic for me, I don't potentially think that we will reach top 4 this season, but that's not the worst thing in the world. If we can reach top 6, have a season in Europa League, that's what we've done when we won it in 2018. It gives us time to nourish these new players, nurture them, bring them in, build some chemistry, and actually build a style of play that Potter wants to play against lower end teams. We can't expect him to be on a poor run of form for the next sort of 6 months and then hope for Champions League.
Yep.
We're going to have a full pre-season under Potter, something that we weren't gifted at the beginning of the season. So he still doesn't know the players in and out. But over time, you're going to be working with players in and off the pitch. There's still new players coming in, like you mentioned, João Felix, Modric, and Noni Madueke.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why we've got these players in, and I think now is the time to obviously trust Potter, back him a little bit, and if you can't do that, then it's going to be very difficult to support them when they win because they're always going to have that little chip on your shoulder.
I think the fact that you mentioned the comments by Pep are very significant. If you look now, it's a list of players, managers worked under Pep. Most go on to success.
Yeah.
Ten Hag worked under Pep at Bayern Munich. Xavi is top of the league with Barcelona. Even Company is top of the league with Burnley. Arteta is absolutely smashing it with Arsenal. People that have worked under Pep, he's normally got a good judgment on someone's character, someone's ability. So for him to speak so highly of Potter, I definitely think is significant. I think that we're seeing the emergence now of the next crop of managers. And actually, despite what Arteta's doing right now, I come under a lot of stick for saying this, but I don't perceive there to be one that is miles ahead. I think there's one that is further down the road in terms of their natural progression, which Arteta clearly is. He's won a cup. He's had a couple of seasons. He's pretty much got his own squad, yeah? But I do think that if you look, you've got the likes of Graham Potter, Eddie Howe, Ten Hag, Mikel Arteta. You know, there's maybe one or two more you could throw into that mix that I look at now, and I think, yeah, they're really the next crop of managers that I could all see doing significant tenures at the clubs they're at, respectively, at the minute. And that could be maybe how the Premier League battle over the next half a decade goes. So if I had to push you and say, where do we finish this season? Liverpool have made up gaps not far off what we are to the top. Is that me saying I think we're going to do it? No. I look at the likes of even a very much inconsistent Liverpool. I look at the likes of Man City, Arsenal. They're 3 teams in the league that I could see going on unbeaten runs for 15 games. Yeah. And that's the sort of thing that defines you and separates you from the rest of the teams in the league. Okay? Liverpool's one that I come under stick for, but I do believe that if they get things right with Klopp, I can see them going unbeaten for long periods of time. Then I look at the likes of Chelsea. I know Newcastle have done 14, 15 games unbeaten already, but I look at the likes of Chelsea and I look at the likes of Man United. You're even seeing now, obviously, weakened a little bit with Eriksen picking up an injury. I think that was last night when they played. They're not the sort of teams that I can see putting together 15 unbeaten games and stuff like that. So I don't think, personally, we're going to finish all the way up there in those top 4 spots. However, a lifetime of being a Chelsea fan has taught me, just don't write us off. I could see a scenario where on the last day of the season, it's still mathematically possible for us to finish in those top 4 spots. If I had to put money on it, my last penny on it, no, I think we'll finish 5th. Yeah, I think we'll probably finish 5th. Would you agree with that, or would you have us higher or lower?
I completely agree. Like you said, with Chelsea, don't write us off. Anything's possible. You know, I think we 10 points from top 4 at the moment, and was it 3 or 4 points from top 6? So those margins are very small. That's just one win and one team to just drop a couple points. So, you know, I'd be happy with us finishing 5th or 6th. Like I said earlier on, I think there's a transition period that we need to adjust to, and you know, I think that's realistically, I think it's the goal now. You know, I think that the board have potentially come to a decision and agreed with Potter that this is the goal. You know, beginning of the season, of course, you want to be pushing for Champions League, but I think now, realistically, you know, Todd Boehly seems like the kind of man, and Graham Potter seems like the type of man that's, you know, more realistic as opposed to a huge optimistic person. And like you said, with the running form of games, you know, we haven't played for sort of 10 days now. We've got another game coming up in another 6-7 days.
Realistically, we've only had about 1 game in 3 weeks or something by the time we play again.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think, well, when João Felix unfortunately got his red card, I think it was literally as soon as he got sent off, somebody said, right, that's it, he won't be playing for 30 days now. Yeah. 3 games in 30 days. Yeah. You know, usually we're playing sort of 3 games every 10 days. Yeah. So there's a big gap between us, you know, obviously with the domestic cups that's been going on with the Carabao and the FA. So, you know, I think in terms of going on a potential good run, I think what we do within these, you know, 13 to 14 days as a team, as a collective, will be very important for us coming forward. If we can come in and go against Fulham home, you know, have a strong performance at the Bridge, I think that would just raise morale, raise confidence, and I can see us going a good run of games.
I've got a client, Simon, good friend of mine, and he is a lifelong Fulham fan, goes home and away. When we played Fulham at Craven Cottage that night, I trained him that day, and I said to him, how'd you see it going and whatnot? He said, oh, you know, I'd be happy with a draw. And I said, yeah. I said, well, I'll tell you what, mate. I said, you're going to win tonight. I said, I for some reason with Chelsea, I feel like I always know. Clearly I don't, because I thought we were going to win the league after we beat Tottenham. I said to him, you're going to win tonight. I said, I can just feel it. Chelsea aren't winning tonight. And I sometimes have this feeling, and quite often I'm right. I'll tell you one thing. Chelsea are 1,000,000% beating Fulham on Friday night. There's some ones, I bet if you look at the bookies odds or whatever, we'd be very short odds that night, because that's the game we're winning. Yeah. We played well against Liverpool, didn't get the result, players coming back. As you say, that's one of the most important things, competition for places. It's all well and good Ziyech walking around the pitch looking disinterested. Whatever your thoughts on him are, whether you like him, whether you don't think he's had the rub of the green since he's been at Chelsea, I personally see him on a pitch. Sometimes I think you look a bit disinterested. You ain't playing well. You turn it on sometimes, you know, when there's transfer rumours about you, but then you don't play well at all for a while. It's all well and good seeing that when there's no real massive competition for his place. I'm not saying there's not a player that could come in and take it, whatever. Now he's looking, he's thinking, probably three players as well as myself that could potentially be in line for this spot. Yeah, I need to fix up. I need to be on it now. I need to be pushing all in the right direction. So I do think things are definitely looking up for Chelsea fans. But we want to know in the comments, what do you guys think? Do you think that Chelsea are going to have an uplift in their season now? Or do you think we'll see much of the same, a bit more inconsistency until the end of the season and we go again from next year? Let us know in the comments. And Mitch, Chelsea Forum, you'll see his handle on the screen below you. Go and give him a follow for daily, really good Chelsea content and everything else. We'll see you all in the next video.